Hey everybody, I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk to you about the books that I picked up on Free Comic Book Day. Actually, I picked them up on Sunday. I showed them to you, but I hadn't really gone over them. So let's go over them kind of real quick. All right. First up is a story from the world of Something is Killing the Children. It's called The Road to Slaughter by James Tynion IV, Werther Dell'Edera, Letizia Candanesi, and Mikhail Muerto. And you get to see just another day in the life of Erica Slaughter. She is presumed dead after fighting a duplicitype, but in the end, you get to see that she is alive and well. So it's one of those stories where the main character is the main focus. I feel like this book has kind of lost its way, but I'm hoping that, like I said, with issue 48, 49, 50, maybe it can center itself back around. But as always, the art by Werther Dell'Edera makes this book totally worth it. Even though it was free, it still makes it totally worth it because you get to see all of these characters. Let's see, where's this picture of Erica doing battle? You get to see Erica taking down monsters, which is just what she was designed to do, what she's best at. Let's see. Now that takes me back to the very beginning of the series, when you got to see Erica take on the duplicitypes and try to save Archer's Peak. But in the end, Erica is going to always... She's kind of like Wolverine. She's always going to win. There will come a day probably that James Tynion kills her off, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So this was just a fun, short little romp into the world of Something is Killing the Children. This I didn't even read because I've already read The Nice House by the Sea, or actually The Nice House on the Lake. So I read The Nice House by the Sea, and now The Nice House on the Lake is the second volume. And I've read this, so it's just a reintroduction of the first issue to all the different characters that you get to meet in the second series, The Nice House. The first series, The Nice House on the Lake. So that was a book by James Tynion IV, art by Alvaro Martinez Bueno, and letters by Jordi Belair. And you get to see, like I said, the birth of this particular storyline where these characters have been brought together by their friend Walter, and he tells them that the world has exploded and it's dead and all of their friends are gone, their family's gone, they need to stay in this house. And he says, you were the people that cared for me. I'm not human, as you can probably tell by now, but you were my friends. You were the ones that in the end I could always count on. So it's a great story about family, about ties, about friendships, and how those friendships fall and they fracture and they're put back together when necessity calls. It's a really, really great book. So if you haven't read the first volume of The Nice House on the Lake, check that out. And currently going is The Nice House by the Sea. Okay, now we have Amazing Spider-Man 1000.1, I don't know. And then Queen in Black. And here you get to see what is for right now the final ASM story by John Romita Jr. as he has left the title for right now. But you do get to see his awesome artwork. And it features the Answer, who's kind of a, C-list villain, but he's extremely intelligent. It's like Peter says, he's never seen this guy stumped. And in the end, it just gets to be so much. And so the Answer turns around and he says, nature versus nurture, argument. Quantum versus Newtonian versus Richardson science, argument. Impossible, impossible, impossible. And it says you can hear it in his voice. He's not angry, he's scared. And the answer to a world of lies is to start the world over. So Peter kind of picks him up and slams him into a wall. And he says, how did you grab me? My powers wouldn't allow you to. And he says, I'm not grabbing you, man. You look like you needed a hug. And he says the world is wild right now. It's wild and it's so big. Multiply that by the opinions of neckbeards with microphones. Oh boy. And the answer says, I can't find answers. I don't even know what questions to ask anymore. Peter says, I feel you, man. Welcome to my life. When I get lost in it all, I go small. Pick one, just one thing that I know to be true. Planck's constant. The speed of light in a vacuum is 299,792,458 meters per second. And ice cream tastes best when it's a little melted. And the answer says it does. He says, my aunt's the greatest lady in the world. The best slice in New York is Scores on Orchard. And two of the cops, and I like Original Ray's better. And then somebody said, Roses at Penn after a night out, come on. So Peter goes and helps someone who's a genius, someone who can literally manipulate himself and his power set to whatever answer he needs to find. And instead, he helps him out. Then you get a small portion by Al Ewing and Abed Coelho from The Queen in Black, which is Hela. And you get to see the extent of what this story is going to be. It's going to be an epic. It's going to be spacefaring and everywhere. And Hela says, you are no longer mere symbiotes. You're soldiers. You serve in the armies of hell, and this is war. So it's in Giza, it's in Pisa, Italy, it's Tokyo, London, New York. And it's the invasion of the symbiotes. Not the invasion of the body snatchers, but the invasion of the symbiotes. So you get a little snippet of how that story is going to go. And you get to see some of the heroes that are going to emerge, like Venom, Anti-Venom, Spidey, and some of the other Black Cat, and even a tarantula with a new suit. And in the end, you get to see the culmination of the Infernal Hulk. So I haven't been reading that book, so I can't really say much about it. But that was a lot of fun, especially get to see a small human story with John Romita Jr. again on Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, and the last two books is Conan, Tides of the Tyrant King. This is setting up the next big storyline for Conan by Jim Zub, and the artwork here is done by Jesus Marino. And you get to see this awesome double-page spread that kind of opens the book up and gives you an idea of what you're looking at. And it starts with a story of Conan, and then there's a man who is Montfaucon, France in 1918, so he's in World War I. And you get to see that both of these men are soldiers in their own time. And it's not where I thought the story was going to go, but you get to see the passion that both of these men have. Conan protects the the honor of a lady that he doesn't even know. One of his subordinates, he says, we're being paid well, so buy all the wine and the women that you want, but forcing your filth on villagers makes you no better than the gutter curd raiders that we put in the ground this day. And so, of course, Conan prevails and shows this guy who's the boss. And one of the other guys says, that will cost you. Captain Keegan will strip your rank for crippling one of our own. He says, who needs rank when you're surrounded by vermin? Then you get to see the man come out of the World War I hospital, and some of his compatriots were bad-mouthing the nurses and talking about them. And he gets up and he says, she cared for our sorry skins, and that's how you treat her? And one of the other soldiers, who's in a lot better shape than him, is damn right, what are you going to do about it? And so he eventually falls in and finds this creature who I believe is going to be the Tyrant King. And it says, desperation opens many dreadful doors, and beneath the self-styled temple of dreams lie darker secrets still. A corpse transposed from ages uncounted, a tyrant of death formed or primed for rebirth. and back to the Hyborian Age. Though the Conqueror's great power no longer dominates the age of Atlantis, vestiges of his mystic might still cling to each age ever after. And his soul-shattered servants still seek vengeance. Touche, Jim Zub, that's a tongue twister. They follow an unearthly pull that shall not stop till they slain the barbarian who waylaid their master's grand plan. So, like I said, this is setting up the Tides of the Tyrant King, which I'm extremely looking forward to. And the last book we're going to talk about is the Energon Universe Special. So we get a story to open it from Mask by Dan Waters and Pi Par. You also get a Transformers story written by Robert Kirkman with art by Jason Howard. Void Rivals, also written by Robert Kirkman with Connor Hughes as the artist. And then you get a G.I. Joe story written by Joshua Williamson with Tom Riley as the artist. So you get the art from the artist of these particular titles. You get this awesome double page spread cover, gatefold cover, or wraparound cover, I'm sorry. And you get to see what Miles Mayhem and company are up to. You get to see where Matt Tracker is. And then you get to see a very short story by Jason Howard and Robert Kirkman about a new character in the Transformers universe. Unfortunately, I'm not reading that book anymore after Transformers number 30, but hopefully it turns out to be a really, really great story. But you have all of these different stories built in this Energon universe that Image has built up ever since Robert Kirkman managed to get the rights to G.I. Joe, Transformers. Now we have Mask coming in. So it's just becoming a bigger and bigger world. And it looks exciting, and I'm ready for it. So that's the small stack of free comic book day books I got. Let me know what you guys picked up. Let me know what you're excited about. Are you guys reading Conan? What books didn't you see that you would like to have seen that, should have had a free comic book day book? All right, guys, that's it for today. Take care, and I'll catch you later.